What's up, YouTube? Did a couple vlogs, 3 vlogs or so, that were Israel related, kind of. 2 of them. One was about the inner geographical struggle. One was about the larger context, the larger chess game that's being played in the Eastern Mediterranean, how it's always been played there for control of naval routes in the Eastern Mediterranean, and why it's so important geopolitically to larger powers, and why Palestine and Israel are just kind of like a play within a play sort of thing. And the first vlog I did was more micro. It was about the play that's inside the play, and the second one was about the larger play and how Israel and Palestine fit into that play, why they are the play inside that play. And if you want to go see those, I'll put the links up over there. So, or over there. I can't remember how it works with this camera. And I have all these like anti-Zionist goons, these conspiracists, just littering my page. Right? And, you know, I listen to them, and like, you know, the 9/11 conspiracists, I've gone back and forth with them throughout my 3 years on YouTube, and, you know, mostly with them it's about the details, you know, like, you know, who caused it or, you know, whatever. But one thing about the 9/11 conspiracists that, you know, have a base in reality is that they talk about these larger geopolitical games that are being played. They just happen to be wrong about how they're being played. And they want to latch on to something, so they latch on to these loose change guys or these Alex Jones guys. Even though that's leaders, world leaders, are all much more pragmatic than those silly things. And even people that are fairly conspiratorially inclined, like Chomsky, are just like, the United States didn't cause 9/11, they just used it to their advantage. And we weren't the only one who used 9/11 to our advantage. The Chinese were killing people in their western provinces, and the Russians were killing Chechens, and the Indians, the Hindus in India used it as an excuse, and the Indonesians went into the Ashti regions and started slaughtering fundamentalists. And sure, there are events that happen that larger powers use them to their advantage. But what gets me about these like anti-Zionist people, and why, you know, I look for a reason of why they hate Israel so much, and what confuses me is that Israel, alright, as a nation, population-wise, is half the size of Mexico City, alright? Jews, as a race, are 14 million people in the world. That's 0.2%. 0.2%. 0.2%. 1/5% of the world's population. And these anti-Zionist goons seem to believe that they run everything. And they need to explain something to me, okay? Are there like 5 Jews that like sit in this office, right? And, you know, and tell the Saudis how to run oil, and tell the Iranians how to run their resources, and tell the Venezuelans how to run their resources? Because between those 3 countries, it's a fuckload of oil. And are the Zionists telling the Canadians how to do it too? And are the Zionists telling the Chinese how to grow and become a power? And they control the media. I mean, I don't know, have they told Ted Turner that? He ran CNN for forever. And he's not a Jew. And Murdoch from Fox is an Australian Christian, and he's not a Jew, so I don't know why he would be a Zionist. And then you got a bunch of blue bloods from Massachusetts that started and own and sit on the board of directors of General Electric, who own NBC, and they're not Jews. And, you know, maybe there are some Jews on the board of director of Disney, but, you know, I mean, is the Lion King some kind of like subversive Zionist? You know, is that what it is? Is that what the Jungle Book is? I mean, is Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, are they just like some kind of Zionist plot to take over the world? I mean, it's the most inane thing. And like, you know, like I said, like at least the 9/11 conspiracists kind of get like that there's this large geopolitical game that the larger powers play, right? But I mean, the Soviets were the first great patron of Israel. And I mean, and these were atheists, right? Stalin was an atheist, and Lenin and Trotsky, and the person that they took their formulas from, Karl Marx and Mao, right? And the first great patron of Israel was the Soviet Union. So are they like the Soviet Union? You know, I mean, the Hindus are killing Muslims in India, right? And on the border in the up in the Kashmir region. Are they not Hindus? They're Hindus? Is that what, are we supposed to believe they're Hindus? Is it not the USA? Is it a Jew-USA? I mean, can you explain to me why a Southern Methodist president like George Bush, why he's a Zionist? Is he like secretly a Jew? And does he take orders from these 5 Jews and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and the people at Google and Yahoo? Do they all take orders from these 5 Jews, these Zionists? I mean, you have to explain to me how 14 million people control the fucking world. They don't. And you Zionist freaks that think that Zionists control the media. Yes, there are a lot of Jews in Hollywood. It doesn't mean they control the media. And that has nothing to do with the news. You know, I'm sorry, but I don't know how Steven Spielberg doing Who Framed Roger Rabbit has anything to do with some Zionist conspiracy. You know, how he did Schindler's List. Well, you know, it's a story about Hitler trying to commit genocide. Well, that actually happened. And to all you anti-Zionists, you know, that want to go along with, you know, our friend president over in Iran, obviously the guy in Iran must be taking orders from the Jews because they help run OPEC. And if the Jews run everything in the world, then they must be running OPEC too. But that's right, the Jews run America, and the Americans tell the Saudis what to do, and then the Saudis tell the Iranians what to do in OPEC. That's how it works in your world. Ooh. You know, Chavez, too, he must be a Zionist, too, because he controls a shitload of oil in South America, even though it's shitty, nasty crude. But it's lots of oil, and Chavez must be taking orders from these 5. I mean, what is this? Is this like a Louis Farrakhan fucking mothership thing? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. And, you know, I mean, I think that there's an argument to be had on whether Israel, you know, the state of Israel, the state of Palestine, whatever you want to call it, can be shared or not shared. But the bottom line is, if there was a Jewish state in the middle of Siberia, in the middle of Alaska, do you really think Palestinians would be lobbing missile rockets at them? They wouldn't. Okay, so it has to do with geographical proximity. That 2 enemies, one enemy that's split in half, are right next to each other. And it's a very important geopolitical area, and the larger powers that be, Russia and the United States and everybody out, the big powers in Europe, don't want anybody controlling the Eastern Mediterranean, because that's how they make all their money, because their multinational companies are passing goods through that area and passing energy through that area, so they need to keep controlling that. That's how it works. That's why the Phoenicians wanted to run that, and the Assyrians and the Romans and the Macedonians and the English, the Americans and the Soviets. That's why they all wanted it. And the Ottomans. It had nothing to do with the fact that the Ottomans were Zionist, or that the Americans were Zionist, or that the Soviet Union was really the Soviet Union. Zionist conspiracies are some of the most inane conspiracists I've ever heard of. They make no sense. They can't answer any of the questions you give them. You know, the United States didn't fully get involved with Israel until 1968. So why did they wait 20 years? If we're run by the Jews, why did they wait 20 years? Or did the Jews wait until 1968 to do that? Did finally the 5 Jews that sat in their office to control everything finally get a hold of Lyndon B. Johnson or Richard Nixon? Is that what happened? Is it? It's fucking stupid. You know, so if anybody out there that's, you know, so afraid of Zionists could explain to me how the Jews are controlling the Saudi Arabians, the Iranians, the Chinese, the Japanese, South Koreans, the Americans, the Canadians, the Venezuelans, the Brazilians. Once you get all that down for me, and you can explain how these you know, 14 million Jews control everybody, could you explain it to me? And then maybe, you know, we can do something to fix the rocket ship that they live in, the mothership that they all live in, where they're the 5, you know, supreme Zionist Jews that are controlling everything. Can you do that? And oh, and the Hindus. Make sure you tell me about the Hindus too.